Welcome to The Explainer. Now, what if I told you that the biggest threat to your app's success isn't a bug in the code or a weak marketing campaign, but something as simple as geography? Today, we're going to dive into why the physical location of your servers can literally make or break your entire business.
So let's kick things off with a story that's pretty much a nightmare for any startup. Imagine this. You build a fantastic product, you launch it, and then you find out that a massive chunk of your target market just can't use it, all because of one technical decision you made way back on day one.
And this is the exact feedback a really promising company kept getting, not just from a few people, but from a whopping 40% of their potential customers in places like Australia and Asia. The product itself worked perfectly, but the user experience? It was so bad it was literally driving people to their competitors.
So what was the actual problem? Well, it all came down to this number, 2,000 milliseconds. That's 2 full seconds for a page to load. You know, in a world where we expect everything to be instant, 2 seconds feels like an eternity. It's basically the digital equivalent of a door slamming in your face. Now, naturally, the team's first instinct was, okay, something's wrong with our code. But here's the thing. It wasn't a software bug. The problem was way more fundamental than that. It was a problem of physics, of geography, and, well, the unbreakable speed limit of the universe.
Okay, so let's actually trace the journey. When a user in Sydney, Australia clicks a button, their request has to physically travel 20,000 kilometers across the Pacific Ocean to a server in Virginia in the US. Then, the server does its thing and sends the answer all the way back. That's a 40,000 kilometer round trip for just a single click.
And here's where a small delay blows up into a total catastrophe. See, a modern web page isn't just one thing. It's assembled from dozens of little pieces of data, and each of those pieces needs its own separate round trip to the server. So you take that 200 millisecond delay for one trip, you multiply it by 10 or more, and suddenly you've got that disastrous 2-second load time. So what you end up with is this huge digital divide, based entirely on where you happen to live. While users in the US were getting a super snappy 50 millisecond experience, the app was just fundamentally broken for anyone in Australia.
You know, this whole disaster brings up a really simple but powerful question that changes everything. Instead of forcing your users to come all the way across the world to your app, what if you brought the application to them?
Probably the best way to get your head around this shift is with a simple analogy. The old way of doing things is like having one giant warehouse in the middle of a country. Every single order, no matter where it's from, has to ship from that one spot. The new way? It's like having a local store in every major city. So check this out. This local store model, it solves every single one of the original problems. That long, painful delay becomes an instant local connection. A huge surge of traffic in one city doesn't slow everyone else down. And hey, if one location has a problem and goes offline, the rest of the network is totally fine. It's just faster, it's more resilient, and it's built to scale globally from day one. Okay, so how do we actually build these quote-unquote local stores for the internet? Well, the technology behind all this is called edge computing, and it's being powered by a whole new generation of tools from companies like Cloudflare. All right, first up, Cloudflare Workers. The best way to think about these, they're kind of like vending machines for your code. You write your logic, you push a button, and it's automatically deployed to over 300 cities around the world. It's serverless, which means you don't manage any servers. You just give it the code and it runs as close to your user as possible. That cross-planet travel? Gone. Okay, so that's the code, but what about the actual data? That's where Cloudflare D1 comes in. It's basically like putting a small but really powerful database inside every single one of those local stores. This keeps a user's data close to them, so looking up information is just as fast as running the code. And then for the big stuff, images, videos, all those large files, you've got R2. Think of this as the local stockroom for your store. It holds all the bulky items right where they're needed. And the really crucial part is that it gets rid of those expensive egress fees, which is basically what traditional cloud providers charge you for just sending your own data to your users. So let's circle back to our struggling startup. They ditch that single central server in Virginia, and they adopt this new local store model, moving their entire application to the edge. So, what happens? The result? It was absolutely transformative. The latency for those Australian users didn't just get a little better. It plummeted by 97.5%.
It went from an unusable 2 seconds down to a blazing fast 50 milliseconds. And just like that, the experience was identical for every single user on the planet.
And you can bet the business impact was immediate. That huge 40% of the market that was basically locked out, now it's wide open. The feedback went from "this is unusable" to "this is amazing." They went from being a regional product to a truly global one, overnight.
But wait, and here's the real kicker. Not only did they create a vastly superior product for all of their users, but they also slashed their infrastructure costs by over 90%. A better experience that actually costs less? I mean, that's the holy grail, right? That is the power of the edge.
So this whole story leaves us with one final and I think really critical question. In today's global, interconnected world, speed isn't just a nice little feature. It's a fundamental requirement. Putting your application close to your users isn't just a technical tweak. It's a sign of respect for their time. So the question you've got to ask is, if your app only lives in one place, who are you leaving behind?